unique instances versus occurrences. So I get this question sometimes of what's the difference between an instance and an occurrence? And going back over to Inventor here. So if I look at my assembly here, I have one bearing block here, and then I have another bearing block on this other side. Okay, so they're not unique. They reference the same I-part factory, so they're just instances, or rather occurrences of one another. Okay, so they reference the same component or I-part file. What that means is because they reference the same file, if I make a change to this one right here, this one is going to follow suit. It's going to change the same way. So depending on your depending on what you desire in terms of your configuration, that may or may not be what you want to do. In the case of this chute for a conveyor, clearly I want to make sure that this bearing block and this bearing block are of the same size as I make my changes. But if you don't want them to be the same size, if there's the potentiality that they could be different, then you want to ensure that they reference different files. So essentially what that means is if I go to my properties here, this bearing block is located in this location right here. I want to make sure that I have unique files. So maybe I'll have a PBE 920-1 and then a -2. So two files unique to one another with independent file names. So that way, if I make a call to change this one on the left, it's not going to affect this one on the right. So that's very common and basic Inventor functionality. I understand that. However, it's important to reiterate some of these best practices as we go through these webinars, so that way we understand and make aware to everybody, hey, you know, I totally forgot about that, or I didn't even think about that when I'm planning my automation project, because it's important. I can't express that enough, that when you want to go down the path of creating a project, an automation project, there's nothing more important than planning it out. You have to understand where you're at, where you want to be, and what are the steps necessary to get there. And if you forget about something as simple as, you know, understanding the difference between unique instances and dependent occurrences, that can sometimes throw a wrench into your your planning in terms of resources as well as your timeline, because now you might have to reevaluate how you go through your automation project.